If your mind has been clouded with sudden confusion, irrational fear, or a deep, unexplainable fatigue that prayer can't seem to shake, this is your first warning sign. You're likely under a spiritual attack right now, and the enemy isn't aiming for your comfort, he's aiming for your calling. One of the most overlooked signs is when your desire for spiritual things suddenly dries up. You used to crave God's presence, but now worship feels empty, the Bible reads cold, and your prayers bounce back with silence. And yet, strangely, everything worldly feels easier to access and more appealing. This is not coincidence, this is warfare. The devil doesn't attack what doesn't intimidate him, and if he can't take your salvation, he'll try to suffocate your hunger. Galatians 5 verse 17 says the flesh wars against the spirit. So if you felt an internal pull toward compromise, understand it's not just you being weak, it's your spirit being targeted. The second sign is disconnection from people you were once aligned with. God-ordained relationships suddenly feel strained, miscommunication is constant, and isolation seems like the only safe place. But Proverbs 18 verse 1 warns that he who isolates himself seeks his own desire and rages against all sound judgment. So if the enemy can't destroy you through temptation, he'll do it through separation. Pay attention when you start pushing away the very people assigned to cover you. The third sign, relentless mental pressure that feels demonic in nature. Thoughts of worthlessness, hopelessness, or even death begin surfacing, not because your situation got worse, but because the enemy has turned your mind into a battlefield. Ephesians 6 verse 12 reminds us we wrestle not against flesh and blood but against powers and principalities in unseen realms, which means the heaviness you feel isn't always natural, it's often spiritual, and it's calculated. If you felt like giving up on everything for no clear reason, understand that this is not a random low. It's an intentional attack meant to make you abort the mission God planted in your spirit. The fourth sign, constant distraction or delay whenever you try to obey God. You sit down to pray, and your phone won't stop ringing. You commit to fasting, and unexpected emergencies pop up. You finally step into obedience, and then chaos erupts in your family, finances, or health. This is spiritual sabotage. 1 Peter 5 verse 8 says your enemy prowls like a roaring lion, seeking someone to devour. He's strategic, and if he can't stop your calling, he'll try to exhaust you before you ever reach it. The fifth and final sign is a sudden resurgence of old sins or toxic habits you thought were dead. Things you buried in prayer start knocking again, and this time they don't just tempt you, they torment you. That's not regression, that's resurrection. Hell is trying to resurrect what God already crucified. Romans 6 verse 6 says our old self was crucified with Christ. So if it's trying to rise again, it's because something spiritual is provoking it. The enemy knows if he can get you to sin in private, he can strip your authority in public. That's why you have to fight back not with emotion, but with truth. Worship when you don't feel like it, fast when no one knows, pray when the darkness presses in, and speak the word even when your mind screams otherwise. You can't afford to be passive in a war that's aggressively trying to derail your destiny. These signs aren't meant to scare you, they're meant to wake you up. The devil doesn't waste bullets on empty vessels. If you're under attack, it's because you're a threat. So don't retreat. Get in position. Take up your authority. You were born for this battle, and greater is he who is in you than he who is in the world. 1 John 4 verse 4.